Thank you. My name's Rick Seaman, and I have a couple of comments for you, and then I'll finish with a question, I suppose. What I don't understand with the media is why they would allow 4 questions and 1 from a local area and call that is democracy. They should have pulled the plug, walked out of the room and said, I guess you don't want any coverage. Second of all, I think the Green Party should be represented in the debate. I don't understand that one either. Next comment is, let's get away from attack ads. I even go through baseball games very quickly and I can see them visually. I don't even listen to them. We're not sort of Republicans in Canada. Let's get with it. The next thing that I noticed was kind of exciting today is that they finally have Conservatives off mute. So that's pretty good. I'm sorry, you've only been around a while, but anyway, welcome.
Oh, I'm a tough guy.
No,
I've been around a long time. I can take it.
No, I don't mean that. It just wasn't fair for me to pick on you.
Well, that's you could pick me any day.
The next thing is, one thing I learned as a citizen is that when we did the potash last year, I really noticed that really we don't own anything, and there's no such thing as a country. There's just multinationals, which I think you call them colonialists or something like that. I think that's probably the name they should be referred to as. And maybe our federal government's become just a welfare state or something like that. They're changing the model on us. We need somebody in Ottawa that's going to take care of what we're all about here. The next thing that we talked about is we want to be productive for the middle class and that sort of thing and get our education. The middle class may not exist, and the ways that you expect to give them your education may not be as good as you think it's going to be, and how you're going to be able to fit into our society. We have to worry about the middle class.
Question, please.
Yep, and that's perfect time. That's perfect. You're psychic. The next thing and this is where I'm going to in my question, is why don't we define what Canada stands for? Why don't we run on that and what we're all about instead of changing what Canadians are? Like I've been around, there's something subtly going on. And run on serving communities, collaborate and listen. Canada is a special place and could be the model for the world. But we are the people, we should be copying, not going after trying to be someone else. So my question is, why aren't we standing and going to the world? Why are we running about what we stand for? Sorry, I was listening to you.
For me?
For all candidates?
Just very quickly, I'd like to say that I've always, in my career, in my lifetime, always stood up for what I believe in and what I thought was best for everybody, and I will continue to do so.
Everybody can comment next, and I'll do reverse order again.
Thank you very much. This is a question I really like. I really like this one because I can define Canada very well. I sing the national anthem with gusto. As you can tell, I am an immigrant. I came here in 1969 with a British passport and within a few years became a Canadian citizen. And by the way, that was very difficult for me in those days. And my family, my wife and 2 children became Canadian citizens, and we are extremely proud of this nation. You will never hear me talk about being Scottish. I am Canadian, and I hope everybody here is Canadian. I am proud of our diverse society in this country. We are today the people that the rest of the world wish they were. I used to say when I was a Scotsman, you know, that the rest of the world only wished they were Scots, but not at all, not these days, because we in the rest of the world, and particularly in the last few years, when this Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, went across the world both in the Commonwealth and in other nations, and represented us with fervor and represented us with class. This man became the envy of the others, in so much so that he was asked by the leaders of other nations to be the chairman of a number of, the co-chairman of a number of committees they were setting up. Why? Because these people respected this man. And so, folks, when you talk about Canada, you're going to get me crying, I'll tell you, because I love this nation. This nation gets me really going. And when I get to Parliament on a Wednesday afternoon at 12 o'clock, I am going to be asking the Speaker to allow me to lead the national anthem, and you will have never heard it sung like I can sing it. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate Mr. Shields' patriotism, but I wonder then, why, for the first time in Canadian history, did we lose our seat on there are a number of things that define the nation from my point of view. One is the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which 80% of Canadians is a defining characteristic of their country. Another one is our Canadian healthcare system, where we have in this country the principle that you first of all check their pulse before you check their credit card. And I think that's an important principle to enshrine in what we stand for in this country. It's also about pluralism, about inclusion, about tolerance and accommodation. It's about reaching out to each other, working hard to understand one another, making room for each other in a very diverse and complicated society, to share the space that we have fairly and equitably and honestly with newcomers, to make our ability to get along with each other one of the exportable values of our nation, that talent to make pluralism successful. And one other thing that I would set as a goal for Canada, we'll be celebrating our 150th birthday of the year 2017. By that time, let's make sure we are the best educated people on the face of the earth, with every Canadian having access to post-secondary education.
Rick, if I understood your question, you're saying that there's something wrong with the system that we're living in. And my concern is just that, and you probably articulated it better than me, so if you're looking for a job, you might be on here. But my point is that we have a fundamental breach in our economy, in the sense that these two guys signed on to a NAFTA agreement which made them basically political eunuchs when it comes to protecting the people of this nation. Because now corporations, just recently, 2 cities decided that they were going to ban pesticides on lawns. Now we're facing a NAFTA challenge that the federal government's going to have to pay these companies for lost revenue because city councilors decided that it wasn't healthy for their residents to be exposed to these chemicals. And these 2 governments signed on to a NAFTA agreement which obligates them to cover and protect these corporations. And it's been used over and over and over again. There's history there if you want to check it out. So I agree. We've got a fundamental problem, and that's one of the difficulties about talking. Sorry, I'm taking so long. Difficulties about talking about this is that there's like this wave of a particular way of thinking, and I think the Green Party has a different way of approaching the economy and the people in general. And it's difficult to have a conversation about it, particularly in these confined times, like very limited times. I'm going to cut it off here. But I think we need to change the system at the top before we're going to see a lot of changes in terms of us all hanging around singing "Oh Canada" and having an actual meaning of that.
Yeah.
I guess that.
Mark, I just want to make sure that we have time for the last question. So
Everyone does.
let you start off.
Well, I just have a very quick question then. When you look out at this great Canadian nation in 2017, how many homeless people do you